Back on the Sports Zone, I am Mike Aglialoro. Once again, thanks to everyone who subscribed to my YouTube channel, MikeAgs121, and if you haven't done so, please do so right under the video. Like the video if you do like it, and if you do, don't forget to check us out. This is SportsZone.com for much more from baseball, basketball, football, and the worlds of boxing and the MMA. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter as well at WeAreSportsZone. So we're continuing the 2014 Fantasy Football Preview. We did part one of the sleeper wide receivers to remember for this coming season. We talked about T.Y. Hilton, Terrence Williams, Brandon Cooks, DeAndre Hopkins, and Tavon Austin. Now we're going to look at 5 more guys to keep an eye on later in your fantasy football draft. And the theme for part 2 is these are guys who are strictly going to get the best opportunity possible to produce top fantasy points and are currently being undervalued as a result of not quite having the track record as you would like from some of the other guys who are going higher. So with that, the first guy we're going to look at is going to be Marcus Wheaton of the Pittsburgh Steelers. He didn't even have 100 receiving yards last season, barely used it all, but with the departures of Emmanuel Sanders to the Denver Broncos and Jericho Cotchery to the Carolina Panthers, Wheaton is the guy who's going to be first up to fill the number 2 wide receiving position next to Antonio Brown. He's definitely got the size and the speed you would like, and in a Ben Roethlisberger-led offense, the opportunity is there. All he has to do is hold off Lance Moore, who is more suited to his slot receiver type role, and the rookie Montavious Bryant. And I don't really think he's going to have much of a problem doing so. So Wheaton is a guy you want to keep an eye on later in your drafts. Like I said, doesn't have much of a track record, but in his second season, I look for him to have a big impact. Next guy we're going to look at on the list will be Jordan Matthews, the rookie from the Philadelphia Eagles. He hasn't looked great so far in Eagles training camp, hasn't had some good preseason games yet, but Riley Cooper and Jeremy Maclin, as I said when we talked about him when we looked at the rookie wide receivers to remember, Cooper and Maclin are not number 1 wide receivers. Matthews, at the very least, has the build of a wide receiver, and he's been compared to guys like Plax Burress when he first started with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So this is a guy you definitely want to take in the last couple rounds of your draft. You may not see a return until midway through the season, but I expect him to get better and be more involved in the offense as the season progresses. And if you're a dynasty league, this is the future number 1 wide receiver for Nick Foles and the Philadelphia Eagles, so grab him quickly. The next guy we're going to look at is going to be Andrew Hawkins of the Cleveland Browns. He, of course, signed the big 4-year contract. He was a restricted free agent of the Cincinnati Bengals, and the Browns signed him to the big offer sheet that the Bengals did not match. He has not put together much in terms of career numbers so far. Through 3 seasons, he has a total of 86 receptions, 995 receiving yards, and 4 touchdowns. Last season, arguably the worst of his 3 years, 12 catches for 199 yards. But he is now going to a team that is going to probably be losing Josh Gordon for the duration of the season and is going with retreads like Miles Austin as their starting wide receiver. At the very least, Hawkins is 28 years old and is going to be given the opportunity to earn the money that the Browns threw at him. And Johnny Manziel is going to need someone to throw the ball to besides Jordan Cameron, Ben Tate, and Terrence West out of the backfield. So I look for Hawkins as a sneaky play. Take him in the last round, see what happens. More than likely, he's going to wind up being the number 1 wide receiver for the Browns this year, though. Another guy who is disappointed throughout his career, but being signed to the New England Patriots, playing under Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, has been known to change people before. So I wonder if that can have the same effect on Brandon LaFell. The 6'2" wide receiver, probably the biggest wide receiver on the Patriots roster, coming into his 5th season in the league. He's never had more than 677 yards in a season, never had more than 5 touchdowns in a season, but the key here, he's never played in less than 14 games in a season before either. And when you have receivers like Danny Amendola and Aaron Dobson who haven't been able to stay on the field, you have to figure he's going to get his opportunity to make the mark on the offense. Another guy, not even ranked in the top 60 wide receivers in Yahoo or ESPN. You take him late, and you see what he could do as the season goes on. But I think he's going to wind up putting career highs up in the Tom Brady-led offense. The last guy we're going to look at on part 2 of the sleeper wide receiver list is going to be Doug Baldwin of the Seattle Seahawks, who went from a fringe fantasy roster candidate to shooting up with the retirement of Sidney Rice. There really are no other wide receivers on the Seahawks roster with the experience you would like from someone that you're going to wind up putting next to Percy Harvin. Jermaine Kearse is really the only other experienced receiving option that the Seahawks have, and I look at Baldwin as a better option than that. When you look at the rookies that the Seahawks will be bringing in, and you look at Harvin, who's going to be more moved around and not really pigeonholed in any one type area, Doug Baldwin has arguably spent the most time on the field than any wide receiver that Russell Wilson currently has to work with. So I look at him to top the numbers he had last season, 50 receptions, 778 receiving yards, and 5 touchdowns. This could be a guy who cracks the 1,000-yard barrier for the first time in his career. Take him late, be happy you did later. So to wrap up, the 5 sleeper wide receivers we look at this part 2 were Marcus Wheaton of the Pittsburgh Steelers, Jordan Matthews of the Philadelphia Eagles, Andrew Hawkins of the Cleveland Browns, Brandon LaFell of the New England Patriots, and Doug Baldwin of the Seattle Seahawks. Once again, thanks to everyone who's subscribed to the YouTube channel MikeAgs121. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already. Make sure you check out thisissportszone.com. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter at WeAreSportsZone. Send us any questions and comments you may have. Thanks everyone for watching. For This Is Sports Zone, I am Mike Aglialoro. We'll see you next time, folks.